Your car is being watched. Not maybe, not if you're speeding, not only the bad guys, your car right now, all the time, everywhere you drive. That ordinary streetlight outside your house, the one that you've rolled past 1,000 times without a second glance, might already know the dent in your bumper, the faded sticker in your back window, the exact second you left the driveway this morning. And it just uploaded the whole package into a system that never forgets and never sleeps. Politicians, police, and safety experts told you these were just license plate readers. Sure, we've heard this before. Harmless little cameras helping the cops catch stolen cars, neighborhood watch with better batteries, a public safety upgrade. That was the sales pitch. It was a lie, so smooth it came with a wink and a smile. What they actually built is an AI dragnet that can find your car by description alone. No plate required, not even a warrant. Then they strap the tech to drones. Yes, drones, you heard me correctly. So the same system can hunt you from the sky before the patrol car even leaves the station. I'm not explaining policy. I'm uncovering something that most drivers still don't realize is already tracking them. But before I do, I want to remind you to like, subscribe, and click that little bell for notifications because there is a lot coming fast and furious, and I don't want you to miss anything. Let's start with the cameras you can still see, if you know where to look and squint a little. Flock Safety began as a friendly neighborhood solution. Homeowners associations, apartment complexes, protect the kids, and the Amazon packages. A few black poles with solar panels, harmless, right? Then Flock's network, infrastructure, and popularity exploded. More than 5,000 agencies, nearly 90,000 cameras, and 20 billion vehicle scans every single month. Not unique cars, scans. Your daily commute alone can light that database up a dozen times before you even hit the office parking lot. And these cameras don't just politely read your license plate and move on. They fingerprint the entire vehicle. Make, model, color, roof racks, bumper stickers, and the little scuff on the left door that only the guy who bumped into you knows about. Then they store the whole visual signature in the cloud so any authorized user can dig through the history later like it's a search engine for your life. It's an extremely powerful tool. Scary in the context of who has access to this information, not to mention how it's used. This is where it gets good. You can now type in plain English a description straight into the system. Blue Ford with a roof rack and a scuff on the left door, and the AI finds every car that meets that description. No plate required, whether it's a motorcycle, a bicycle, a person walking down the street, everything. They got it. They call this description search tech free-form search. I call it a permanent dossier on every driver who has ever rolled through town. This means that every motorist, their vehicle, their face, and any other identifying information can be logged, searched, and used in an investigation without a warrant. So you could be caught up in a criminal search even if you're not involved. But we'll get back to that in just a second. While Flock was busy building that net, Axon looked across the table and said, "Cute, hold my beer." Axon partnered with a company called Ubiquia and started mounting the exact same technology directly on existing streetlights, right on those poles, using the same pole, the same power, and you'd never know. They just plug a little box into the photocell and the camera hides into the scenery like it was always supposed to be there. They call it light post. I call it very dystopian. In Denver and Douglas County, Colorado, they're already talking about swapping out roughly 50 Flock cameras for 100 of the Axon streetlight cameras. Flock put cameras beside the roadway where you could still notice them if you were paying attention. They're easy to notice when you know what you're looking for: a black pole, oblong camera, and an angled solar panel. Axon is embedding them inside the poles and wiring them straight to real-time crime centers so the whole system talks to itself. Invisible and even more powerful. The infrastructure you never really think about just became a surveillance network that you never voted on. Then Flock released Flock Alpha, the autonomous drone. It sits on a weatherproof dock on a rooftop or a police station. A 911 call comes in, they hear a gunshot, or any of the streetlight cameras get a hit, and the drone launches itself. It can fly up to 60 miles per hour, has thermal imaging, and live video feed. And it can read your license plate from 2,000 feet away. And because it can fly so fast, it's often on the scene before the patrol car even has cleared the parking lot. A street camera tags a vehicle. An alert triggers the drone to launch. A live feed follows you through traffic, all without the driver even knowing about it. Now imagine you are the target. Holy crap! We went from just reading the plates on the roadside to an AI that searches by description and a drone that chases the hit from the sky in less time than it takes most people to finish their morning coffee. And they still expect us to call it a traffic tool. We're talking about surveillance on a scale only talked about in movies, books, and games. Now connect the dots with me, because this didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen by accident. You start with a handful of HOA cameras, sold as pure crime prevention. A stolen car rolls by, their plate hits the system, and cops get the alert. Useful if your car is the one that was taken. Then scale it across entire cities until thousands of agencies are feeding the same cloud. Then you let that data live in a private company's database that agencies can search nationwide with just a few keystrokes. Then you give the software the ability to find cars without plates at all, just a description. Then you hide the same capability inside every streetlight so the public stops noticing. Then you add autonomous drones that launch on an alert and follow a target from the air. At every single step, the public was told the same thing. It's for public safety. Stolen cars, missing children, officer safety, all real problems, all emotionally powerful, and all legitimate concerns, all designed to shut down the conversation before anyone asks the uncomfortable questions. But notice what never gets asked in public or voted on. Who gets to search the database? How long does the data live? What happens when a police chief decides to track his ex-girlfriend 228 times over 4 months, like the one in Sedgwick, Kansas? Yes, that happened. And what happens when the system misreads a dirty plate and the wrong driver ends up at gunpoint or in the back of a squad car? And that happened too. What happens when dozens of these cameras get left wide open to access on the internet so anyone with a laptop can watch the live feeds and follow people through public spaces, which already happened in December of 2025. The pattern isn't complicated, but the companies normalize the data collection first. Then they expand the capability and act shocked when the abuses appear. This isn't a series of accidents. It's a business model with a public safety wrapper, and it's worth billions of dollars. Your tax dollars. Now follow the money, and the picture gets even clearer. Flock raised $275 million in a single round last year. The company is worth over $7.5 billion. Their annual revenue is already around $300 million and climbing fast. This is a huge moneymaker for just one company. And their competition is making big money too. They're openly talking about going public, so the same taxpayers funding the contracts can also fund the stock price. Axon is already a multi-billion-dollar public company that owns the body camera and taser market. Now they're moving hard into fixed infrastructure with Lightpost and their Fusus real-time crime center software, so every camera, every drone, and every alert feeds the same dashboard. Both companies make more money the more cameras they deploy, the more data they store, and the more agencies they lock into multi-year contracts. Your tax dollars pay for the hardware and the software subscriptions. Venture capital pays for the rapid expansion and the marketing that keeps calling it safety. And the product keeps getting more powerful because every incentive in the system points the same direction. More eyes, more data, more reach, more recurring revenue. Your tax dollars fund the contracts. Yes, you're paying for all of this. Here's what that means for you as a driver. Your car is no longer just transportation. It's a tracking beacon. Every trip leaves a trail. From home to work, work to church, church to the doctor to the friend you visit every Thursday. The system doesn't need your name. It only needs your car and your passive Bluetooth signals. We've covered this before. You can check it out right here. And once that trail is stored, connected across jurisdictions, and searchable by description, somebody else can follow it without ever getting a warrant or tipping you off. You don't get a notification when you're logged. Police or the FBI don't need a warrant when the search happens, and they definitely won't tell you your Fourth Amendment rights have been violated in the process. You don't get a chance to correct the false match until the lights are already in your rearview mirror. This is the opposite of consumer protection. It's a quiet conversion of every driver into a data source. If you still believe the Fourth Amendment means the government needs probable cause and particularized suspicion before it builds a file on you, then this entire system should make your hair stand up on the back of your neck. Now, it's important to mention that all this new technology comes at a higher price tag for you. And now that it's the halfway point of the year, this is the perfect time to reflect on your financial goals that you set in January that you still haven't tackled. With the cost of everything getting more expensive, it's harder to meet your current credit goals and improve your credit rating. Some of my friends were just talking about this, and I suggested using today's video sponsor, Kickoff. Users with credit under 600 grow an average of 86 points just by paying on time. With transparent, affordable plans starting as little as $5 per month, no hidden fees, and zero interest. Kickoff helps you score big when it comes to credit. It's simple. You make on-time payments, credit bureaus see good behavior, and your credit can grow fast. Plus, their rent reporting feature helps you build credit with the rent you already pay. Every positive on-time rent payment gets reported to help boost your credit. Start building credit immediately for only $1 on your first month. Set up auto pay so you never worry about missing a payment. Sign up in minutes from your phone, no credit check, no hidden fees, no interest. With over 1 million users and hundreds of thousands of positive reviews, there's a reason why Kickoff is the #1 credit builder in the App Store. Start building your credit with Kickoff today and get your first month for as little as $1. That's 80% off the normal price when you go to getkickoff.com/fix. That's Kickoff without the C. Get KIKOFF.com/fix.
You must sign up by getkickoff.com/fix to activate offer. Offer applies to new Kickoff customers first month only, subject to approval. Offer subject to change. Average first year credit score impact of plus 86 points between August 2024 and August 2025 for Kickoff credit account users who started with a score below 600 and paid on time and who had no delinquencies or collections added to their credit profile during the period. Late payments may negatively affect your credit score. Individual results may vary.
Whether you've been on Medicaid for 10 years or you're just about to sign up, this one's for you. A lot of you are quietly losing money every year, and nobody's pointing it out. Everything costs more these days, and luckily, your Social Security goes up to keep pace, right? Wrong. Medicare's premiums are climbing faster than your cost of living raise, so it gets eaten right back. You're running just to stand still. But here's the thing. This is one bill you can actually do something about. You can make sure your Medicare price and your coverage are dialed in with a company called Chapter. They're honest, independent Medicare advisors. In one simple call, a real licensed person compares every plan against your doctors, your prescriptions, and your budget to find the optimal coverage for your life. If you're already on the best plan, they'll tell you that straight. If not, they'll help you switch. Folks who switched with Chapter last year saved an average of $1,100. It's free and takes under 20 minutes. Click the link below to connect with Chapter. Today's the day to get the facts. Let's look into the law. This is so important. Recently, there has been a lot of news on flock cameras. Misidentified auto reviewers, 2 of them actually, were driving brand new Range Rovers, and Flock identified both of them to the police as being stolen. Police responded and treated them with a little bit of hostility until the matter was cleared up. This one particular reviewer then got the opportunity to sit down with the Flock CEO, Garrett Langley, for an interview. I'm surprised he actually did this. This was a foolish move because the Flock CEO tells the car reviewer that the courts have ruled and that Flock searches don't violate the Fourth Amendment. I'm sure he was told to say this, but he and his team fundamentally misunderstand the law, or they lied in the interview in hopes of covering themselves. In 2018, Carpenter v. the United States was decided in the Supreme Court. Here are a couple of quotes from the case. It's worth your time to actually hear these. The suit was about cell phone data accessed by law enforcement without a warrant, so it's not exactly on point. But listen to the language. In quote, the fact that the information is held by third party does not in itself overcome the user's claim on Fourth Amendment protection. We hold that an individual maintains a legitimate expectation of privacy in the record of his physical movements. A person does not surrender all Fourth Amendment protection by venturing into the public sphere through the contrary. What one seeks to preserve is private, even in an area accessible to the public, may be constitutionally protected. A majority of this court has already recognized that individuals have a reasonable expectation of privacy in the whole in their physical movements. Society's expectation has been a law enforcement agents and others would not indeed, in the main simply could not, secretly monitor and catalog every single movement of an individual's car for a very long time. As with GPS information, the timestamp data provides an intimate window into a person's life, revealing not only his particular movements, but through them his familial, political, professional, religious, and sexual associations. These location records hold for many Americans the privacy of their life, And like GPS monitoring, cell phone tracking is remarkably easy, cheap, and efficient compared to traditional investigative tools. With a click of a button, the government can access each carrier's deep repository of historical information at practically no expense. End quote. The government can now travel back in time and retrace a person's whereabouts, subject only to the retention policies of the carrier. Police don't even need to know in advance whether they want to follow a particular individual or when. At any rate, the rule the court adopts must account for more sophisticated systems that are already in use or in development since all the way back to 2018. Then this year, the decision from Schmidt v. the City of Norfolk states that the court has already recognized that constitutional analysis is not static as ALPR or automatic license plate reader networks become denser, retain information longer, or become integrated with additional surveillance technologies. The constitutional balance may change. Judge Davis specifically noted that expanding camera networks and capabilities could eventually tip the analysis toward finding a Fourth Amendment violation. There's another case out of the Fourth Circuit. Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle v. Baltimore Police Department 2021. The decision stated, quote, when government surveillance becomes comprehensive enough to reveal the whole of a person's physical movements, it becomes a Fourth Amendment search requiring constitutional justification, close quote. I know this is a lot of legalese. Stick with me. This is the last case, but it's really important. Commonwealth v. Bell. This is actually a case about Flock. The court granted a motion to suppress Flock ALPR evidence, ruling that Norfolk's 172 cameras in their Flock network constituted a Fourth Amendment search requiring a warrant. The court was particularly concerned about the lack of officer training, requirements, and unfettered access up to 30 days of movement, warning about the potential to create a suspect where one does not otherwise exist. The court reasoned that the program enables deductions about what a person did repeatedly and what they did not do, and what they did ensemble, revealing more about a person than an individual trip viewed in isolation. The court looked at whether surveillance allowed the government to determine where people went, what they did repeatedly, and patterns about their associations. When the Flock CEO says that the courts have been clear that the cameras don't violate the Fourth Amendment, there's already been a ruling that they have. The law changes. It doesn't grow quickly, but it grows in response to events. For the CEO of Flock to make that statement to a reporter on the record and represent that as true, it is a material misrepresentation. Either that, or perhaps he was not aware of some of the court rulings, or more likely, as evidenced by the cases that we just talked about, he knew and he just didn't tell the truth because the truth sounds pretty awful. So what do? I know this is frustrating you. It's been frustrating me all along. That's why we've been covering this over and over, but it's time to step up and do something. So here's what we can do. First, stop treating these cameras like traffic lights or street furniture. When you see one on a pole, on a street light, or launching from a rooftop, treat it like the surveillance tool it is. Log the location in dflock.org. Ask the hard questions at your local politicians. Some of them really don't know. They don't understand the facts because they're the ones spending your tax dollars. Who owns the data? How long is it kept? Who can search it, including by plain English description with no plate required? What actually requires a warrant? Are the searches audited, and by whom? And what happens to the innocent driver when the system gets the car wrong? In many cases, they won't even know the answers. All of this data is legally available through the Freedom of Information Act. Demand to see the contracts, the retention policies, and the audit logs. Demand them in public meetings so the answers are on the record and to make the documents public. Second, support the people who are finally swinging back. Representative Thomas Massey and others are introducing legislation to cut federal funding to any city or police department that deploys these Flock-style systems against law-abiding citizens. He even posted it with a "Don't Flock on Me" flag, which is kind of the energy we really need. I really do like that, and we all need to be thinking in that direction. In West Virginia, the Freedom Caucus is fighting for a full statewide ban, telling municipalities to rip the cameras out now and reminding everyone that the Constitution does not disappear just because the technology gets shinier. Local groups across the country are showing up in city council meetings and forcing cancellations one contract at a time. The technology moved first and fast. As I stated with the legal cases, the Constitution is trying to catch up. It only catches up if enough of us make noise that politicians can't ignore. Third, Stay loud and stay specific. Share what you're seeing in your own town on social media. Call your representatives and ask them where they stand on federal funding for these systems. Refuse to accept public safety as a blank check for total vehicle tracking of people who have done nothing wrong. Because here's the real question we all need to sit with, and I want you to take this seriously. Are these cameras and drones a necessary public safety tool that just needs a few more guardrails? Or are we quietly building a nationwide vehicle tracking network, one streetlight, one autonomous drone at a time, while most drivers are still asleep at the wheel? Are we going to trust the same people who told us it was just reading license plates? Knowledge is power. Your car is the keys to freedom of the road. For now. Don't let them turn it into a permanent file that never closes and never forgets. Now, before I let you all go, I want to know your opinions. Are you concerned about these cameras tracking you? Or do you think we should give up a little bit of privacy for the sake of catching more criminals? Do you believe that the police should have tools as powerful as this? Do you think we need more restrictions on who has access to these systems? Do you have any opinions on the court cases or the words of Flock CEO Garrett Langley? And finally, what do you think of this topic overall? I'd love to hear your comments.